Are you ready to level up your forró dance? What is the basic repertoire of forró movements? After the fundamentals, what kind of movements forrozeiros should focus next? Once dancers know the basic steps, the fundamentals, it's time for us to focus and expand our repertoire of movements. Although forró can be quite challenging at a higher level and requires a lot of practice to get there, it's possible to have a lot of fun in our parties and events just by knowing the fundamentals and a basic repertoire. And this is exactly the focus of this video over here, what I could call a complete starter's kit for forrozeiros. If you go to different forró parties in different places, in different cities, you're gonna notice that most forrozeiros, most forró dancers do the same movements. 90% of the dancers do the same movements over and over with some variations. And even the more experienced dancers, they tend to rely also on these movements with new partners or people who are just starting to dance. And this happens for a very good reason. These movements are not hard to do and they work. If you learn and master these movements that I'm showing to you in this video, I can guarantee you have enough movements, enough variety for a full night of forró with various partners. And here a side note, if you're planning on going to any intermediate or advanced class at festivals or other events, I strongly recommend you to master these movements as they are usually prerequisites for other more advanced movements usually taught at those events. For this video, I prepared 2 levels of movements, what I usually teach to my students here in New York, very much inspired on the way I learned back in 2006 in Campinas, São Paulo, my hometown. Here I'm talking about 2 levels, a basic 1 and basic 2. Basic 1 repertoire. Footwork patterns in close and in open position. The first thing you need to master are your basic steps by yourself. Front and back, to the side, open position, and little variations. Also understand when to use each of these steps. Transitions. Now that you know the basic steps, you need to be able to transition from one to the other. When is the right time to transition from one to the other, and what is the technique required to do so? And a little emphasis on the transitions between closed position and open position. Half turns together. One of the most useful movements you can have in your repertoire is the ability to change directions in closed position with your partner. Let's start with a half turn. Side, side, turn. Side, turn, tum, tum, tum. The orbiting motion principle, the idea of being orbiting around our partner to create displacement, to change positions. This is one of the most important things that we need to understand and be able to do with our partners if we want to do movements in open position, if we want to do turns. Simple turns. As the title say, this is the simplest turn we use in forró and is likely the most used turn ever in forró history. It's an inside turn where we change positions with our partner. Simple turn and come back. The cycle of simple turns, the most complex movement part of this set for beginners, the beginner one, the basic one repertoire. Now we're thinking about ways of orbiting around our partner and doing turns one at a time. We need to understand this principle of alternating turns and the timing for the turns while we orbit around our partner to then be able to do more complex turns. Cycle of turns, her turn, my turn. We can continue as long as we want, finish, come back with the same leg. Basic 2 repertoire. Turns together. Let's take to the next level our turns together. We started with a simple half turn in our level 1. Now the idea is to do a full turn together, a peão or multiple peões in a sequence. Also, we are adding now inverted turns together, starting with a half turn together in line that we call facão. Simple walks. Let's add some interesting walking dynamic to our dance. In close position, either in a line front or back, or in a diagonal in half open position. Walk. Caminhada. 2, 3. Walk, walk, walk. Chigirigidum. Put it together with the other one. Chigirigidum. back together. Breaking basic patterns. Now you're supposed to be a master of the basic steps. Front and back, side to side, open position. And now that we know the rule, we can break the rule. The idea here is to add steps and change the rhythm and the dynamic of the movement. Opening variations in cross footwork, and a spicy way to open from close position to open position, creating this opposite directionality in our movements, a little bit of elastic tension here that can be used to start an orbiting motion and our turns. Simple turn variations. At this point, you should be a master of the simple turns and the cycle. So how about change the dynamic by changing the combination of hands? Instead of just using this hand with this hand of your partner, you can use this hand with this hand with this hand. How about no hands? You can do this with the same hand or alternating hands. 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Change the hand, change the hand, change the hand, change the hand, and come back, tum, 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 without hands. But because we know when we turn and the timing, we can do it, and we can also then play, yes, move with other kinds of turns, keeping the cycle. But because we are keeping the same rhythm and we understand our shifts, our turns to turn, we can do this in a coordinated manner. Yes? All the possibilities that you can come up about hand combinations, but keeping our footwork and orbiting motion the same. Interrupted simple turns. The idea here, as the name suggests, is to interrupt a simple turn. Usually we turn and then we stay where we turned and then we continue in this orbiting motion. For these interrupted movements, we do the simple turn and then we return to where we started. So we interrupt the cycle. And there are many ways of doing it, with either hands, with the hands on top, using the hands and coming down. Many possibilities for you to practice the interrupted simple turns. An introduction to inverted turns. This is most likely the most challenging movement as part of this list. And I remember when I was learning Forró, this was the movement that I had to know and master, at least the principles, to be able to change from a beginner to group to an intermediate group in the school where I learned. The idea that we are turning under ourselves in the opposite direction, a full turn. And this works for leaders and for followers. My suggestion is to practice for followers a simple hands-free turn, and for the leaders do a little combo, either using banana banana or casinha, which we have the hands like this, or with cross hands actually like this, doing carrossel or mochila. You can find a complete list of movements and description of movements as part of our blog at forronewyork.com. You might also find useful another article talking about a checklist for beginners. All the links are in the description of this video. It's not just about what, but also how. Let me say this again. It's not just about what movements you do, but how you do the movements you do. And what do I mean by that? Many times we are tempted to want to learn as many movements as possible and do the most complicated movements, to want to do intermediate, advanced movements, but then we don't put too much focus on refining and doing the movements well. And I believe this is a big mistake. Most advanced, most experienced dancers agree with me on this. That's not about the quantity of movements or how complicated are the movements that you know and you're able to do, but how you do these movements, the quality of these movements. How do you do this in relationship to your partner? How do you lead? How do you follow? If you're able to do this musically, be musical in your dance. It's much more about the mechanics of the movements, but using the movements as a tool, as repertoire for you to express yourself and create a beautiful connection with your partner. By the way, I do have a blog about it, which is called Basics in the Forró New York website. I'm gonna put the link here in the description. Do you want some guidance to take your dance to the next level? I invite you to join us here at Forró New York, either in person in the York City and also online. I'm gonna put all the links here in the description. I also invite you to watch this video here to the side that I already prepared for you as a demo on how you can use these movements we talked here in a creative and musical way. I see you there or here.